Greetings and blessings, everyone. Welcome to Lights for the Way podcast. My name is James Thomas Devon, and we are sponsored by the Blue Star Spiritual Group. Blue Star Spiritual Group is dedicated in assisting people to finding the path that they are here to walk. Now, today, with this podcast, we are just, in the beginning phases of creation here. And there is a lot more to come. I can assure you of that. We're going to be having guests on the show and all sorts of things. Anita will be joining me from time to time. And we're going to be talking, I believe, in the next podcast after this one, we're going to be discussing light language, which is always a favorite topic of both Anita and myself. But today we are going to be talking about a subject that I feel needs to be talked about. And I personally feel like I am the perfect person to talk about this topic. So today's topic is going to be on twin flames. Now, there's a lot of Facebook groups and pages on twin flames. There is a lot of posts about twin flames, and it's like everyone and their dog wants to be with their twin flame. And I, for one, am one of the very, very fortunate, lucky ones. I actually am with my twin flame. Now, most people kind of have this mentality that if you are with your twin flame, it is like the perfect relationship. You two peas in a pod. It's like you got the masculine side, the feminine side, and you come together and it's just bliss. Now, my wife and I got married on the 2nd of July, 2000. And so on the 2nd of July this year, we celebrated 17 years of marriage. And I can assure you that I am overly thankful that I can channel. Let me tell you a story. When twin flames come together in physical, it is because they have something very important to do together. But it is a beyond challenging to have twin flames come together. Now, it is true that at this particular juncture of my life and my marriage, Janice and I, we are closer than two people can be. And I mean, 17 years of marriage, and if somebody came to me and said, tomorrow, you can go anywhere you want, you can do anything you want, actually for the next week. Money is no object. You can go anywhere you want. You can do whatever you want. You can do it with whomever you want in the world. Does not matter. I could choose J-Lo, and fine, no problem. There you go. And I would choose to go to an island, like perhaps Vanuatu or maybe the Cook Islands, somewhere like that, with Janice, and just have like a bungalow on the beach and get massages every day and have nice food and drink and just spend all my time with her. And a lot of people who have been married for 17 years generally don't talk like that, but it is the way it is with us. And we are twin flames. We know we're twin flames, and we had to come together for very special reasons. And there were things that we had to do, and we could only do them together. So when that happens, what Spirit goes through to ensure this happening takes on a life of its own. Okay. Now, a lot of people will get twin flames mixed up with soulmates. Soulmates are basically people who have spent many lifetimes together in a variety of different situations, friends, siblings, parent-child, lovers, married, whatever. And so there's that bond that's already been created and already there, and that trust that's already there as well. Twin flame is a little bit different. Okay, so I want to share with you what we had to go through to come together because it wasn't easy. I'm telling you now, it was not easy at all. Janice at the time, Janice is a Kiwi, okay? She was born in Christchurch. She grew up here in New Zealand. But from about the age of 20, she lived in Australia. And so in 1999, I lived in Ponca City, Oklahoma. I worked for Gateway Computers doing tech support. And I normally worked from 3 in the afternoon until midnight. And Janice lived in Cairns, far north Queensland, Australia. Now, I had a computer because my boss had built me a computer, and I had bought it from him. And in December of 1998, Janice got a computer, and the reason she got it, to be honest with you, part of her reasoning was so that the kids could use it for school and stuff, but one of the main reasons she got it is because she had discovered this book, and it was The Journey Home by Cryon, who was channeled by Lee Carroll. And so she had listened to several of Cryon's channelings on cassette tape, and she knew that he had a website. And so she wanted a computer so that she could access Cryon's website. And so on January 27th, 1999, I had come home from work with a couple of friends of mine. They were married couple. They wanted to check out my computer because they were thinking about having my boss at work build them a computer, and they wanted to check mine out to see, was it good and all of that stuff. So they're at the house, and his wife and I are sitting on the bed because the computer's in my bedroom, and so we're sitting on the bed talking. He's on the computer playing this dinosaur pinball game. And about 1:15, my back started really hurting for no apparent reason at all. And by 1:30, I couldn't sit down. Turns out I had a herniated disc in my lower back. Oh joy, oh joy, oh joy. 3rd of March, I ended up having to have back surgery. It was not fun, shall we say. Now, because of this herniated disc in my lower back, I was off work. And Janice had gone to a chat room on the Cryon website and had met somebody there who lived in Coranda, which is up on the hill from Cairns, where she lived. And she ended up being a friend of my wife's and everything. She actually now lives over in Brisbane and everything. And so she told her about the chat room in lightworker.com. So I'm on Valentine's Day of 1999. I'm in the chat room at lightworker.com. I'm not talking a whole lot. I'm in pain. And I'm just watching the conversation. But there's this Nick, and it's at the very top of the name list. And of course, back then in the late 90s, people generally didn't use their real names; they used nicknames. And mine was always Blue Dragon because my nickname is Blue Dragon. And so I saw this Nick, and it was Setanta. And I'd never seen it before. Never, have no idea why anyone would choose that. But it's like I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was like it was there. It was like, holy shit, what is this, man? There is something about this Nick. And then all of a sudden, she states that she's in Australia. And well, that was it, because I'd wanted to go to Australia for 15 years, even though I didn't know why I wanted to go to Australia, you know. And it turned out to be Janice. And so we ended up starting, and we started talking, and we started talking a lot. And, sometime later, she actually told me that she had gotten in a dream that Nick, and that she had to use that Nick. And it was because we had agreed upon that Nick and me finding her through that Nick. So it was pretty trippy, if you want to ask me. So we started talking a lot, and interacting a lot. Well, I'm in mortal fear, because what I'm feeling is so intense, and it's beyond anything that I've ever felt before in my life. I had been in love before, but nothing. I didn't feel anything like I felt. This was off the charts, totally off the charts. And so Janice, single mother, and at the time, a 7-year-old daughter and a um, 12-year-old son. And she's like, I'm going to come over to America and meet you. And this really freaked me out. And so I actually moved in April of '99 to Sedona, Arizona, um, where I helped start a National Star Command group, which apparently is still running today, weirdly enough, shall we say. And so I then went, I was there for a couple of months, and then I went to Redding, California. Well, when I was going to Redding, California, Janice had arrived in LA. And so we're trying to organize where to meet. I'm running like a scared little child, because I don't, I'm in so much fear, it's not even funny. And the weird part was, I didn't even know why I was in so much fear. I didn't know why I was so scared, but I was. And eventually we ended up meeting in Arcata, California, which is north of San Francisco. And I had to meet her. I couldn't get out of it, because someone that she also knew online lived in Minnesota. And this lady in Minnesota had made her a story necklace, Native American Indian necklace. And she sent it to me to give to her. And so I had to meet her. I didn't have a choice, because I had this necklace that I had to give to her, and it was like, ugh. So we meet in Arcata. I gave her 48 hours. Yeah, that's right. All the 48 hours. Can you believe it? I was such a dickhead. But I was in so much fear. And this is what fear will do to you. It will make you make stupid choices and do stupid things. I remember her saying to me before we had met online, it was online. She said to me, she goes, nobody can love you the way I do. And that scared me even more. And meeting her in person, it was like, are you sure you got this right? How can you love me like that? And the funny thing is, at a deeper level, there was no doubt. I mean, I had the same amount of love for her, but I had all this fear that was squashing the heart. Well, she left, and she went back to LA, and celebrated the 4th of July down in LA, and then went back to Australia. And we kept talking, and I had to make a choice. You see, I couldn't ask her to come to the States, because she had 2 young kids, and their father lived in the same town where she lived, and she had a good career and a good job, and I didn't have anything. It was like, well, who's going to move? Her or me? It's going to be me. So I keep going back and forth, back and forth, back. I don't know what to do. So I finally make a decision. I wake up one morning and I'm like, okay, I don't have a choice here. I've got to do this. So I called her. And when I called her, she was actually going from one office to another for work. She worked at Centrelink in Australia. And I said, okay, I'm coming. And what I didn't know at the time is I was literally hours away from her closing the door. Because I woke up and it was like I didn't have a choice. I had to do this. So it took some time to get what I needed. Finally, in February of 2000, I bought my tickets, my plane tickets. And then this will go to show you the guidance that you get when it's something so bloody important. Okay? Because I mean, I've never, except for when I was in the military and lived in Germany, I've never traveled overseas, and I don't know how it works, moving to another country and all this other stuff. And one day I woke up and I just had this thought. I said, "Oh, you know what? I need to email the Australian embassy in Washington D.C. That's what I need to do." So I emailed them and I said, "Here's my plan. I'm going to go to Australia and I'm going to marry my fiance and the love of my life, and I'm going next month. What do I need to know?" Lovely lady at the Australian Embassy in Washington, D.C. emails me back. And she said, "Well, technically, you're supposed to get a prospective marriage visa. And then once you have that, you can be in country for up to 9 months. And within that 9 months, you get married." And I said, "Cool." She said, "Unfortunately, it takes 4 to 6 months to get that visa. And you don't have that amount of time. So here's what you do. Go to Australia, get married, and then apply in country for your residency." And I'm like, "Okay, no problem." And 2 thumbs up, no problem. I send this email to Janice. And on the 22nd of March, 22nd of March, I get on a plane in Seattle, Tacoma, Washington, because I had moved from Reading up there for work. And I flew to Los Angeles, and then I flew from LA to Sydney, Australia, and then got on another plane and flew from Sydney to Cairns. And by this time, I'm like a complete total wreck because I've been flying for 24 hours. And I arrive in Cairns about 10 in the morning on the 24th. So the 23rd of March 2000, I lost it and never got it back. Wah, wah, wah. And Janice was there at the airport to pick me up. And it was surreal, to say the least. And we got married on July 2nd of 2000. And then I realized my greatest horror. I realized something because on the 21st of June of 2000, Janice and I went through what's termed a reincarnation within the same embodiment. We thought it was just the one thing or the one time. We were wrong. It was just the first part. The second part was going to happen basically about 13 and a half years later, or 14 and a half years later, something like that, on December 21st, 2014, which was the second half of that reincarnation within the same embodiment. But on the 2nd of July, we got married. And honestly, I love Janice, everything that I am. And I loved her, back then so much. But there's something about twin flames most people don't know or aren't aware of. See, most people think twin flames come together, it's bliss, it's the most incredible, happy relationship you'll ever have, bar none. Have a nice day. You can, rule the world. It's going to be so fantastic. Wrong. Twin flames come together, and the first thing that starts is the poking. and they poke you and they push your buttons, and I will tell you why. They'll push your buttons and go, you're not being authentic. You see, your twin flame knows you inside and out. You may not know everything about each other on a conscious incarnational level physically here, but on a soul level, as twin flames, you know each other completely well and completely. And so if your partner is not being authentic, press the button, press the button, press the button, and it was horrendous for the first few years. I channeled a lot. There was some days when I channeled up to 15 hours for one day. There were days that I started channeling from the time I woke up until the time I went to sleep. And it was all about teaching us how to move through these releasing and trust and all of these things, because we've been living a life, it was like when Janice was in Northern California and we'd gone out to dinner one night and I'd gotten up to go to the toilet and I stopped in my tracks and I stopped and I turned and I looked at her and I was like, this is just really weird, really strange. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, I'm not playing a role with you. I was used to always playing roles with people. And it was really annoying because it's like you go to work and you play a role for your work and for the people that you work with. You play a role for your family. You play a role for your friends. You play a role for your partner. You play a role for this person and that thing and that situation and we end up with all these masks and all these roles. And I was shocked. And I was like, wait a minute, I don't have to play a role with you. What's going on here? And it took a few years to work through our issues and find the authenticity within us. And once we got there, we still had things to go through and things to work through. And we did, But there was a level of commitment that was beyond anything you can possibly imagine. There was a commitment, a level of commitment that just took things to a level you just can't believe. And when we lived in Cairns, there was two kinds of Kiwis that I met, two kinds of New Zealanders. One type, they had no problem coming back to New Zealand to visit whānau and friends. For those of you who don't know, whānau is Te Reo Māori for family. So they had no problem coming back to visit whānau and friends, vacation, but they would never live here again. And then the other type of Kiwi were those type of Kiwis, like Janice, who couldn't wait to move back here. We actually came over here in 2002, and it was the first time that I ever stepped foot on in a country and gone, wait a minute, this feels like home. And it does, and I'm so at home here. And so at the end of 2008, Ruby graduated and she applied for Massey University in Palmerston North here in New Zealand, and she deferred for a year, so we waited. And so Janice and I moved to Wellington in late 2009. And in 2010, we went to Europe and did some stuff, and it was really great. And we, had some pretty amazing, experiences. And every year it has gotten better. And every year we've gotten closer. And every year we are more in tune with each other. We can be sitting there and I'll get an idea and she'll state it. And I just look at her and I'm like, stop taking things out of my mind, But I do the same thing to her. We are twin flames in in every sense and every way of the word. But I'm going to tell you now, to be with your twin flame in physical here on this planet, in this duality and density, it is so hard. So for all of you people out there going, yeah, but I want to be with my twin flame, more than likely your twin flame isn't even on the planet. Twin flames only come together when there is a mission that they are here to do and complete. We did our mission, our life, our planetary mission, shall we say. And we have a new mission now, and we do it differently, but it's the same mission. And our mission now, and I will tell you what our mission now is. Our mission now is very simple. Our mission now is all about assisting people to walk the path that they're here to walk, to be who they are meant to be. That's our mission now. So don't be so focused on trying to find your twin flame. Be more focused on being just present here. If you are, and you listen to your heart and guidance and you follow it, and you discern and you follow your intuition and trust it, you'll meet the people you're supposed to meet and you'll be with the person you're supposed to be with. Sometimes people have relationships that are karmically based. Sometimes it's with a soulmate. Sometimes it's for different reasons. The last lifetime that my wife and I spent together was 400 years ago. We were married then. 400 years before that, we shared a life together, which didn't end up very well for either one of us. And I know that the last time we were together past that was a couple of thousand years ago. We don't come together very often, and this is our last incarnation. And we'll get into last incarnations and things like that in the weeks and months to come. We're going to be talking about all sorts of things. All right. So I'm going to ask you all just, tick on that subscribe button so that you can subscribe and listen to our podcast. Hopefully you get something out of it. Leave us a comment. Feel free to email us if you like. lightsthewaypodcast@gmail.com. If there is a particular topic you'd like to hear from us, would like us to address and whatnot, send us a suggestion. We are always more than happy to be open to all of those things. Today we've been talking about twin flames, all right? And, I'm going to tell you now, if you're not with your twin flame, that does not mean you cannot live a most excellent, phenomenal life. Trust in yourself, people. Honestly. Much love to all of you. Blessings, salutations, and from everyone here at Lights for the Way podcast, have a blessed day.